Hello there, and welcome back to Writing from Scratch with me, Tom. Today you join me in the beautiful Vung Tau in southern Vietnam, and today we're going to be talking all about how to be sensitive to different cultures when you're writing your book. So when you're writing your book, it's perfectly natural to want to include elements from other cultures. You want to include peoples, traditions, cultures, foods, fashion, lots of different elements that can make your book really interesting and really immersive for your reader. But when we're doing this, we need to make sure that we're being careful and we're being sensitive to the cultures that we're drawing from, copying, or even using exact copies of. So today I want to talk to you about a few different things that you can do to make sure that you're being sensitive to the cultures that you use in your book. So the first thing that you want to be doing is so important, and that is doing research. A lot of cultural insensitivities come from people not researching the place that they're drawing from properly enough, and often leaning on stereotypes in order to make elements that use that culture. So the best thing that you can do here is some research. Now that very much depends on you and the opportunities that you have. For me, I wanted to include elements of Vietnamese culture in my book, so here I am in the beautiful Vietnam using this experience to research all the cultural elements that I want to include. But if you don't have access to that kind of opportunity, remember that Google is your best friend. You can use Google to find anything, and this isn't a sponsorship for Google, but it's a really accessible tool that can allow you to find lots of independent and useful information that can help you make the best culturally sensitive novel that you can. Secondly, a great thing that you can do is speak to people from those cultures. We're so lucky that most of us live in a really interconnected society all around the world. So a great thing that you can do to be culturally sensitive is to put your ideas and put your research to a person from that culture. So because today I'm in Vietnam, I want to speak to some Vietnamese people and find out that if what I've researched and what I've discovered is actually true or not, and how they feel about their culture being represented in that way. Now, this can feel like a lot of work. It feels like you're taking your book writing really seriously to go to that length. But it's really important that we're representing cultures properly, appropriately, and accurately so that your book can be more successful. Because at the end of the day, the most accurate cultures depicted in books are often the most successful books as well. So do some research, reach out to some people. You can use the internet to find people from different communities and different cultures and ask them any questions. And usually people are really happy to talk about their culture and share information about it. So it can be a really useful and fun and friendly experience for you too. Don't be nervous, go out there and speak to some people who can tell you more about their culture. Now, if you're an architect writer, this is something that might really appeal to you. The idea of creating your own society with its own traditions and its own rules, that can be really exciting, and it's something that I personally really enjoy doing for my novel. So it's perfectly fine to create your culture, but it's also really difficult to create something that's completely new and not based off something. So make sure that when you're creating a new culture, you're not falling on pre-established stereotypes about certain other cultures that people might find offensive or disrespectful. So even when you're creating your own culture, make sure that you're still being representative, that you're being respectful to cultures that you might be influenced by, and make sure that you're being really self-aware. Make sure that you know where these influences are coming from, because really when we're writing, everything is influenced by something else, and we need to make sure that we're recognizing that and accepting that when we're writing our novel. So as for me, obviously I'm planning to use some Vietnamese culture in my book. Vietnamese culture is something that I have a really close personal connection with, and it's something that I'm really interested in. So I want to use it for my book because I think it's fascinating and beautiful and unfamiliar with my target audience of Western European readers. So for me, here I am doing my research, speaking with Vietnamese people to make sure that I'm being as accurate and respectful as possible. But that's not the end of my story when it comes to cultures. I'm also wanting to draw inspiration from my own culture in the UK and maybe combine that with other cultures that I'm familiar with, such as Japanese culture. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and in a future video I want to go through in more detail how I'm making that process happen. In today's video I just wanted to talk about the first steps that you need to take in order to make sure that you're being respectful and honest to the culture that you're representing in your novel. So that's all we have time for today. Thank you very much for joining me on Writing from Scratch. I hope you've learned something about how to incorporate different cultures into your book, and I hope you can take these notes away and these tips and then use them to create the most culturally sensitive and respectful book that you can moving forward. Please let me know down in the comments below your feelings and thoughts and your experience with using cultures in your book. Please consider liking, subscribing, sharing the videos with your friends, and I'll see you all next week. Thank you very much.